The Young and the Restless spoilers, Tuesday, full November 12, 2024. Victor Newman had always admired Jill's tenacity. She was strong, ambitious, and fiercely determined to conquer whatever stood in her way. But he knew her vulnerabilities, especially her yearning for acceptance and love. Victor, master manipulator that he was, saw her desire as a way in, a path to bring Jill into his empire and achieve his goals in one fell swoop. Victor's ambitions centered on bringing Jill into his fold by appealing to her deepest desires. He often hinted at what they could achieve together, knowing she longed to see her rival, Jabot, defeated. And if there was one person Jill wanted to best, it was Jack Abbott. Yet, despite her ambitions, Jill knew that taking on Jabot alone was a losing battle. Jack had fortified his position too well for her to make any real dent. But Victor had a solution, an offer that seemed almost too good to refuse. He wanted her to make the first strike against Jack, with Victor providing the resources and support from the shadows. But Jill was hesitant. Her pride didn't want her seen as relying on anyone, even Victor Newman, to achieve her victory. She wanted to be the one in control, the mastermind behind Jack's downfall, not just a puppet. Victor saw this hesitancy, but he also recognized an opportunity. He suggested using Billy as the perfect pawn, someone who could do their bidding and sow seeds of discord within Jabot. By keeping Billy in the dark about their true intentions, they could orchestrate a series of moves that would leave Jack isolated and vulnerable. The dream wedding and the mystery of Dominic. While power struggles brewed in corporate offices, a different kind of tension unfolded as Genoa City's beloved couple, Devon and Abby, prepared for their dream wedding. It was supposed to be the happiest day of their lives, a new beginning for two people who had overcome their share of trials and heartbreaks. The ceremony was beautiful, filled with friends, family, and a sense of hope for the future. But as Devon looked around during the reception, he couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that something was wrong. Dominic, their son, was nowhere to be seen. At first, Devon and Abby thought it was just a mix-up. Perhaps Dominic had been with a babysitter or family friend. But as they searched and questioned everyone around, a horrifying realization set in. Dominic was missing. Panic spread quickly, and what was supposed to be a celebration transformed into a desperate search. Abby's mind raced as she recalled the strange, threatening messages she had received in the weeks leading up to the wedding. She had dismissed them, assuming they were from an unhinged fan or a bitter rival with empty threats. She had even taken precautions, hiring security to ensure that no one would disrupt her wedding. But now, as she stared at the empty spot where Dominic should have been, she wondered if those threats were more serious than she had realized. The crowd grew silent as news of Dominic's disappearance spread. Friends and family huddled together, murmuring in shock and disbelief. Devon was inconsolable, frantically calling anyone who might have seen Dominic. Abby's fear turned to anger as she thought of the monster who had taken her child. Who could be behind such a cruel act? Suspicions and secrets, the search for Dominic. As hours turned to days, suspicions began to emerge. One name kept coming up in hushed conversations. Phyllis Summers. Phyllis was no stranger to manipulation and mind games, and many knew that she had recently been on a downward spiral. It seemed improbable, but her past vendettas and cunning schemes made her a suspect in everyone's minds. Victor, already in deep with his schemes to use Jill and Billy, found himself drawn into the chaos of Dominic's disappearance. He offered his resources to assist in the search, determined to keep up appearances as a caring grandfather figure. But beneath his public concern, he had his own suspicions. He couldn't ignore the unsettling possibility that Phyllis might be involved. She was unpredictable, her life crumbling around her, and in her desperation, she might just be reckless enough to cross a line even Victor wouldn't touch. Jill, too, was affected by the turmoil. While her ambitions for control and power remained at the forefront of her mind, she couldn't deny the sinking feeling that Dominic's disappearance could derail everything. If Billy were to find out that Dominic was missing, he would be impossible to control, leaving her and Victor's carefully crafted plans in jeopardy. She needed to keep Billy focused, but the gravity of the situation was too significant to ignore. Unfolding tensions, Abby's desperation and Phyllis's potential involvement. Abby was consumed by fear for her son's safety. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and her every waking moment was dedicated to finding Dominic. Every lead seemed to come up empty, and every call brought her hope crashing down. The messages that had once been annoying distractions now felt like icy threats, taunting her, reminding her that she had underestimated her enemy. Devin, determined to find their son, called in every favor he could. He hired private investigators, contacted the police, and even considered taking matters into his own hands. His relationship with Abby grew strained as they each grappled with the weight of Dominic's disappearance. The love and trust that had defined their relationship began to erode under the relentless pressure. Meanwhile, Phyllis found herself backed into a corner. People were beginning to whisper, and every look seemed to carry accusations. She maintained her innocence, but her silence only fueled the suspicions around her. She had crossed many lines in her lifetime, but even she knew that kidnapping a child was a level of cruelty she wasn't capable of, or so she insisted. Yet, in her desperation and isolation, Phyllis began to wonder if she was being framed, if someone had orchestrated this to destroy her completely. The truth behind the abduction. As the days dragged on, clues began to surface, leading Abby, Devin, and their allies to an abandoned property on the outskirts of town. The suspense was unbearable as they approached, hoping and fearing what they might find inside. With a collective breath held, they entered the shadowy building, the silence thick with dread. There, in a hidden room, they found Dominic, scared but unharmed. Abby and Devin's relief was overwhelming, but their joy was tempered by the knowledge that someone had taken him and was still out there. As they comforted their son, they couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much larger scheme. Back in Genoa City, Victor and Jill watched the aftermath unfold. Their alliance was already strained, and the chaos surrounding Dominic's disappearance only heightened the tension. Jill's ambitions clashed with her maternal instincts as she struggled with her role in Victor's plans, while Victor pondered whether Phyllis, or someone else entirely, might have been behind the abduction as a way to destabilize the Abbott family. Abby, now acutely aware of the threats surrounding her family, vowed to find out who had taken her son and why. She was no longer willing to be a passive victim, and with Devin by her side, she prepared to confront anyone who posed a danger to her family. Conclusion: the rising storm in Genoa City. The events had left lasting scars on everyone involved. The alliances and rivalries that defined Genoa City were more volatile than ever. Victor and Jill's secret alliance was both a powerful partnership and a ticking time bomb, with Billy unwittingly caught in the middle. Abby and Devin, now more protective of Dominic than ever, prepared for the possibility of more threats. Their love strengthened, but their trust in others shattered. And Phyllis, though officially cleared of suspicion, remained marked by the events. Her reputation was in tatters, and she knew that many still saw her as a potential suspect. She was more alone than ever, haunted by the realization that her past sins had made her an easy scapegoat.